Marlon Brando is considered one of the most renowned actors of all time. He was nominated for an Oscar multiple times and won the award for Best Actor twice. One of these awards was for his performance in the cult film The Godfather. But few people today know that Marlon Brando's life had many dark sides and that one of his 11 children became a murderer. When Christian Brando was born on May 11, 1958, his father was already famous. Marlon Brando had won his first Oscar 3 years earlier. The celebrated actor welcomed his first son with the name Christian. Marlon Brando chose the name himself without telling the child's mother. He names him after Christian Marquez, a friend from his youth. Christian's mother is Marlon Brando's wife, the actress Anna Kashfi. But the marriage between the two actors only lasts a few years. When Marlon and Anna separate, Christian is still a toddler, and a fierce custody battle erupts in court. Ultimately, Anna Kashfi is awarded full custody. Christian grows up with her for a few years, but this solution is short-lived. Anna Kashfi struggles with severe drug and alcohol problems. During a court hearing, a friend of Anna's testifies that she found Anna unconscious in her own vomit while little Christian was playing unattended at the edge of a swimming pool outside. Due to these circumstances, the court withdraws custody of Christian from Anna. The boy is then sent to live with his aunt, the sister of his father, Marlon Brando. At the time, Christian is only 6 years old, but these circumstances are also only temporary. In 1972, when Christian is 14, his father finally gets custody. The actor is at the zenith of his career at the time. He had started new families, married twice, and had 3 children. Although he had custody of Christian, his son hardly spent any time with his father. Instead, nannies looked after the boy when he was not at a boarding school in California. Christian's mother, Anna Kashfi, apparently never came to terms with the fact that she had lost custody of her son. So when Marlon Brando was abroad filming a movie in the spring of 1972, she seized the opportunity. Anna kidnapped her own son and took him to Mexico. The 13-year-old Christian was found there a short time later after his father, Marlon Brando, had hired private detectives. He was found in a tent with a group of hippies and was suffering from severe bronchitis. Anna Kashfi had promised him $10,000 to take care of her son. His abduction apparently left Christian Brando severely traumatized. It is said that after the event, he started carrying firearms with him as often as possible so that he could defend himself in case of danger. A short time later, Christian Brando dropped out of school. After the 11th grade, he left without graduating and devoted himself to a few part-time jobs. Among other things, he worked as a welder and gardener. For a while, he lived in Alaska, where he worked for a fish processing company during the summer months. Christian also tried to follow in his parents' footsteps and prove himself as an actor, albeit with limited success. In addition to his sluggish career, he also has drug problems. After dropping out of school, Christian began to consume alcohol and LSD regularly. His father's house, where he also lives, remains the center of his life. A large estate with 12 bedrooms in the Hollywood Hills. There is also a guest house belonging to the house. Both buildings are part of a sprawling complex with 3 residential buildings on a 2-hectare property in the middle of the Santa Monica Mountains. The other 2 houses on the property belong to actor Jack Nicholson. And it is on this property that Christian Brando becomes a murderer. It is May 16, 2000, and Christian Brando has just learned something that makes him furious. His half-sister Cheyenne is visiting him at the estate of Marlon Brando in Los Angeles, where Christian lives. Cheyenne is also the daughter of the famous Hollywood actor. Cheyenne and Christian have a close relationship. She is 20 years old, Christian is now 32. Cheyenne is pregnant with her boyfriend Dag Drollet. However, on this day, she tells her brother Christian that her boyfriend Doug repeatedly beats her. Doug and Cheyenne have been together for about 4 years and are in what would probably be called a toxic relationship today. Doug's parents even repeatedly ask their son to break up with Cheyenne Brando. But somehow the two can't get away from each other, especially not now that Cheyenne is pregnant. They even split up, but then traveled to Los Angeles together in May 1990 to visit Cheyenne's father, Marlon Brando. At the time, Cheyenne was 8 months pregnant and her father wanted her to give birth to her baby in the United States. Dag Drollet comes from a prominent Tahitian family that was very influential in the politics of French Polynesia at the time. His father held several offices in the regional government. Now Dag Drollet is dating Cheyenne Brando, and she is making serious accusations against her partner. She is sitting at dinner with her half-brother Christian when she tells him that Doug is violent towards her. At this point, Doug is in the living room next door. Christian decides to confront his sister's boyfriend. He grabs a gun and threatens Doug with it. Christian later claims that he never meant to shoot Doug, but only wanted to scare him a little. As he was leaving the room, Doug suddenly reached for the gun and the fatal shot was fired. At the time of Dag Drollet's murder, Christian and Cheyenne were also renting their house to Marlon Brando and his then-wife Tarita Taripia. Marlon, Tarita, and Cheyenne all claimed to have heard the shot. However, no one was able to witness the crime, not even Cheyenne, whose statement is said to have been the trigger for the murder in the first place. Marlon Brando rushes to the scene and tries to resuscitate his daughter's boyfriend using mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but it is in vain. At 10:40 p.m., Dag Drollet is dead, shot on the property of one of the greatest actors of all time. Marlon Brando dials 911. Minutes after the shot was fired, he alerts the police, who quickly arrive at his estate. Christian Brando, who fired the shot at Doug, is in the house and surrenders without resistance. The investigators found no evidence at the scene to suggest that there had been a fight between Doug and Christian. The victim was struck by a single shot to the head. According to the report, Doug was found lying on the couch as if he had just been watching TV. The TV was on, and Doug was holding the remote in one hand and a lighter in the other. The fatal shot hit him in the center of his face. Family members tell investigators that the alleged violence against Cheyenne by Doug was an isolated incident that occurred shortly before Doug's murder. When Cheyenne is questioned, she is not injured. Police are unable to detect any signs of physical violence. Police promptly announced that the suspect had not taken any drugs at the time of the incident. At most, a small amount of alcohol. The murder weapon was recovered at the scene, along with a shotgun and 2 unregistered automatic firearms, an Uzi submachine gun, and an M14 rifle. The weapons were all allegedly owned by Christian Brando, who told police that he was simply interested in firearms. This fits with the information that he was said to have carried more firearms after he was abducted by his mother at the age of 13. Dag Drollet leaves behind a daughter, 5 years old at the time, from a previous relationship. His father, Marlon Brando, also testifies against Christian in court. He breaks down on the stand and reports how he asked the police to reopen Doug's body bag so that he could properly say goodbye to his son-in-law. Marlon Brando portrays his son as a failed existence, to whose problems he played a certain part. His words are as follows: "I think maybe I failed as a father. I'm sure there are things I could have done differently if I had known better at the time. But I didn't." Ultimately, Christian Brando pleads guilty to involuntary manslaughter. He is sentenced to 10 years in prison. Dag Drollet's family is anything but satisfied with the verdict. Doug's father says Christian basically got away with murder. In an interview with The Times, Christian says that in retrospect, he is not sure whether he believes Cheyenne's claims at all. Cheyenne is said to have later admitted that Doug never hit her. The young woman had suffered from mental health problems since her teens and was said to have been schizophrenic. Marlon Brando arranged for Cheyenne to be admitted to a psychiatric facility in France shortly after Doug's murder. Dag Drollet's father says of the allegations, "We distinguish between a slap and a punch. A punch is something else. Doug never hit Cheyenne. Maybe on one or two occasions when Cheyenne was angry, she scratched him, hit him, threw things at Doug. He might have given her a slap or two. But he never hit her and never did anything at all since she was pregnant. Never." During his time in custody, Christian Brando graduates from high school. He also works in a vocational machine shop in the prison. At this time, his half-sister Cheyenne dies. She took her own life at the age of 25 in her mother's house. Cheyenne's son, who she had with Doug, is being taken in by Doug's parents. Cheyenne is buried next to Doug in Tahiti. Doug's parents raised Taki together after both of his parents have passed away. Meanwhile, Taki Brando works as a model for several well-known fashion houses. Christian Brando does not serve his full 10-year sentence for the killing of Doug. After 5 years, he is released from prison and has the chance to make a fresh start. But even after that, there is no peace. Christian still has alcohol problems, and in addition to that, he regularly consumed marijuana, cocaine, and later even crystal meth. In 2000, he was arrested for drunk driving. Later that year, he was hospitalized with a broken jaw after 3 men beat him up in his apartment. In October 2001, Christian was found in a stranger's house, screaming that a monster was after him as he hid under a kitchen table, surrounded by chairs. In 2004, his father Marlon Brando died at the age of 80. It is said that the ashes of his father were sent to him as the oldest son, unannounced in a package from the delivery service FedEx. Christian Brando may try to live his life away from the spotlight, but in 2005, his name is in the news again. An ex-girlfriend of his, Bonnie Lee Beckley, was murdered by her own partner, Robert Blake. Christian Brando was summoned to court to testify against Robert Blake. However, he does not provide any conclusive information, quite the opposite. Although it is about the murder of his own ex-girlfriend, Christian invokes the Fifth Amendment. He thus effectively refuses to testify. He is fined $1,000 for contempt of court. At the same time, however, the court makes it clear that Christian Brando will not play an active role in the Bonnie Lee Beckley murder case. That was precisely part of Robert Blake's defense strategy. His lawyers were able to present a tape recording in which Christian says to Bonnie Lee, "You're lucky there isn't someone out there to put a bullet in your head." However, the two have a spicy history. Bonnie Lee Beckley is said to have been known to seduce and blackmail celebrities. She is said to have made Christian Brando believe that the two had a child together. She even named the son after Christian. Later, however, it turns out that the child is Robert Blake's. Christian married his wife Deborah during the trial. In 2005, he was on trial himself for domestic violence against her. He was given a 3-year suspended sentence and was ordered to undergo detoxification and attend a violence prevention course. Deborah also accuses Christian of threatening to kill a businessman named Mike Medavoy on multiple occasions. Medavoy is one of the heirs to Marlon Brando's estate. He is named in the will just days before the death of the acting icon, while his son Christian Brando gets nothing. To this day, there is speculation as to whether Medavoy and other beneficiaries may have obtained Marlon Brando's inheritance by fraudulent means. What is certain is that Christian will not receive anything when his famous father dies on July 1st, 2004. Prior to that, Marlon Brando's career had gone from bad to worse after the death of his daughter Cheyenne. A year after her death, in 1996, he starred in The Island of Dr. Moreau, a production that is notorious to this day for numerous disastrous incidents and has received several Golden Raspberry Award nominations. Christian and Deborah lived for a time on the estate of the late actor, where Christian shot Doug. Eventually, the couple was thrown out when the property was sold. They divorced soon after. In 2007, they both sue each other, but reach a settlement out of court. On January 11th, 2008, Christian's new girlfriend calls 911. She finds him lying lifeless on the floor of their Hollywood apartment. Christian had recently moved into the one-bedroom in a rather seedy part of the neighborhood after running out of residences. Now he lies lifeless in front of his new girlfriend. Christian is taken to the hospital and put into a coma. He is diagnosed with severe double pneumonia. 2 weeks later, on January 26, 2008, Christian Brando dies at the age of only 49 years. Lately, he is said to have lived on welfare and could not even afford health insurance. His mother, Anna Kashfi, is now also dependent on social assistance and cannot even pay for her son's funeral. To finance the funeral, she and Christian's ex-wife Deborah are giving interviews and selling, as they themselves put it, his life story. Incidentally, years earlier, on the same property where Dag Drollet was shot, another crime had taken place. In 1977, film director Roman Polanski was arrested there after having sex with a 13-year-old girl in one of the houses. Polanski pled guilty, but fled the country in 1978 to avoid a prison sentence. He never returned and continues to make films to this day. The murder of Dag Drollet has been solved, but his relatives were not satisfied with the solution to the case. After all, Christian only got 10 years in prison for the killing of Doug, of which he only served 5. In addition, the circumstantial evidence raises questions as to whether Christian really shot him accidentally, or whether the influence of his famous father helped him to get away with a lesser sentence. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe Christian's account that the shot was fired accidentally, or do you think it was a deliberate killing? If you leave a comment, you'll also support the channel. Because every interaction, whether like comment or subscription, increases the likelihood that the video will be suggested to people who haven't yet subscribed to Insolito. Otherwise, there's not much more to say. I wish you a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you watch the video, and hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, ciao guys.